From moments of politics to moments of protest, all the way to moments of drama and great celebration. We've got a lot to talk about today. What is up, IO fam? I am your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and we are going to be covering the top 10 biggest freakouts at the Oscars. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have Dudley Nichols. The Oscars have been around for quite some time, so to start off this list, let's take it back to some of the earlier days. Yeah, let's take a trip back to 1936. Dudley Nichols, who was a screenwriter and director, was nominated that year for his project, The Informer. During this time, he was actually one of the most highly regarded writers out there, so he certainly was at the top of many people's list when it came to predictions as to who would win the Oscar for Best Screenwriter. It ended up going to him, which didn't leave many people surprised, but what did leave people surprised was when Dudley became the first person to ever decline his Academy Award. Yeah, the man said, "An Oscar? No thank you." This was actually a sign of solidarity with the Writers Guild, which at the time was on strike. Not so much of a freakout in the sense we are used to these days, but by 1936 standards, this is quite a bold statement. In the end, Dudley did go on to accept this award a few years later at the ceremony. So, hey, he still got to take a stand and be rewarded for his work. In our number 9 spot today, we have George C. Scott. Alright, we're now taking a bit of a jump forward and heading over to the 1971 Oscars. This one is sort of similar to the Dudley scenario, but this time we saw George C. Scott asking to not even be nominated. George had told the Academy that he would reject any sort of nomination for his portrayal of General George S. Patton in Patton, but despite what he said, he still went on to be nominated for Best Actor. Not only this, but he also won. I'm not exactly sure why they didn't listen to the man, but when they announced his win, George wasn't even there. Yeah, he didn't even attend the ceremony and was across the country at home in New York. Apparently, he was opposed to this nomination and subsequent win because he didn't like the idea of creative performances being compared. And honestly, I kind of am on his side. I know not everyone feels the same way, but hey, I appreciate that he stuck to his beliefs, and I'm sure he had a great night in. I wonder what he watched. In our number 8 spot today, we have The Streaker. If we skip ahead just a few years to 1974, we are now at a point where we see a streaker. Every major event has got at least one, right? In that year, artist and photographer Robert Opel decided that he was going to make his statement by running across the stage naked. To be honest, I'm not even exactly sure why, but it is said that he was able to sneak backstage by pretending to be a journalist of sorts. In the end, this terribly awkward and confusing moment was diffused by actor David Niven, who quickly quipped, quote, "Isn't it fascinating to think that probably the only laugh that man will ever get in life is by stripping off and showing his shortcomings?" Honestly, it was a moment the Oscars will certainly never forget. In our number 7 spot today, we have Not So Proud Mary. Okay, picture this. It's 1989. Rob Lowe is doing a performance at the Oscars, and who does he do it alongside? If you guessed Snow White, I have no idea why you guessed that, but you'd also be right. This strange pair did a performance of a modified version of Proud Mary, and, well, it was so bad. It was so bad that people were speaking about it for weeks afterwards. It was so bad that Disney, the ultimate Karen of all time, tried to sue for infringement. It was absolutely disastrous. It was so bad that apparently Julie Andrews, Paul Newman, Sidney Lumet, and George Peck all co-signed a letter that called the performance an embarrassment and demeaning. So, yeah. It didn't go over well. I just wonder how no one vetoed it in rehearsals. Like, surely this wasn't the first time they performed it, right? In our number 6 spot today, we have Jack Palance. Ah yes, we've made it to the 90s, specifically to 1992. That year we saw Silence of the Lambs and Thelma and Louise winning awards, you know, absolute classics. You know what we also saw? We saw Jack Palance winning Best Supporting Actor for his role in City Slickers. Amazing. What happened next, however? Awkward. When Jack rolled up on stage to accept the award, he said, quote, "Billy Crystal? I crap bigger than him," and then proceeded to fall to the floor to show the world he could still do one-handed push-ups at the age of 71. I'm not gonna lie, his knees bent more than his arms, but he's 71, I'm gonna give him a break. The energy of this is chaotic though, it's so strange. Honestly, the man knew how to accept an award, I'll give you that. In our number 5 spot today, we have Life is Beautiful. Alright, we are at the Oscars now that occurred in 1999. We are just before the start of a new millennium. People are excited. It comes time to announce the award for Best Foreign Language Film, which ended up going to theater legend Roberto Benigni for his heartbreaking film Life is Beautiful. To be honest, there are some people who don't enjoy the film because of its content, but we are not here to be film critics. We are not Rotten Tomatoes. We are talking about Freakouts, and Roberto definitely delivered quite the ecstatic one. Roberto didn't care that he had an aisle seat. He still took to literally climbing over other guests to get to the stage. He showered the audience with the most gratitude, and you could tell he was absolutely freaking out, and rightfully so. To see a work of passion get the reception it deserves is undoubtedly a moment that should be celebrated. Because of the fact that the movie deals with the horrors and atrocities that occurred during the Second World War, he finished off his acceptance speech by dedicating the prize to, quote, "those, because of the subject of the movie, those who are not here. They gave their life in order, we can say, life is beautiful." In our number 4 spot today, we have Michael Moore. The early 2000s were a wild time. People were wearing sandals on the red carpet and denim skirts over denim jeans, and things were just going wild. This Oscar freakout moment took place at the 2003 Oscars, and it happened when Michael Moore went up to accept his award for his film Bowling for Columbine. It's not unheard of for people to use their acceptance speech as a moment to advocate for things that they believe in, and Michael did just that, but it wasn't met with the reaction I think he was hoping for. During his acceptance speech, Michael decided to make his thoughts and feelings clear towards former US President George W. Bush. He said, quote, "We live in a time where we have a man sending us to war for fictitious reasons. Shame on you, Mr. Bush, shame on you." In the end, he was met with booing from the crowd, and that trusty old orchestra started right up, definitely rushing him off of the stage as quickly as possible. Whether we agree with Michael or not, it definitely was an incredibly awkward moment for the award show that night. In our number 3 spot today, we have Anne Hathaway. Let's take a trip on down to the 2013 Oscars. We've talked about people speaking their minds about politics, taking a stand for what they believe in, or just celebrating the win to epic proportions, but this freakout? Oh well, it's over a dress, of course. Very 2013. Back in 2013, as Anne Hathaway walked down that Oscars red carpet, people began to wonder why she had on a Prada dress instead of the Valentino one she was slated to wear. As it turns out, apparently Anne found out or caught a glimpse of Les Mis co-star Amanda Seyfried's dress for the evening and had a freakout. Turns out Amanda's icy Alexander McQueen gown was a little too close to Anne's for her comfort, and it had her calling her stylist in a rush to figure something else out. Anne did end up publicly speaking about the entire ordeal, stating that she thought it was best for all involved if she changed her dress, and that, quote, "it was a difficult last-minute decision as I had so looked forward to wearing Valentino in honor of the deep and meaningful relationship I have enjoyed with the house and with Valentino himself." Honestly, take me back to 2013 when all we cared about was Anne Hathaway's Oscar dress. In our number 2 spot today, we have the biggest mix-up. Okay, when we think of awkward Oscar moments, many of our minds instantly go to 2017. Remember when the Oscars had a bigger mix-up than Steve Harvey did at the Miss Universe contest? In 2017, the Oscars saw the terribly uncomfortable moment of Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty being given the wrong envelope, only to read out that La La Land had won the award for Best Picture, when really it was going to Moonlight. It was so uncomfortable, and I feel so bad for all involved in La La Land, as that would have been the biggest up and down all in the span of a few minutes, but hey, I think it's safe to say that Moonlight was definitely the deserved winner that year. But that's just me editorializing. In our number 1 spot today, we have 2022. Alright guys, this brings us to our number 1 spot, which happened just last night. 2022. What could possibly happen in this already strange year that would be enough to make it on this list? Well, of course, when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. The internet is abuzz with the talks of this incredibly startling moment. It came after Chris made a joke that targeted Jada Pinkett Smith. A joke which at first seemed to make Will laugh, but Jada was clearly not having it. When Chris kept going, Will promptly walked up to him on stage, and well, what ensued is all over the internet. I'm sure you've seen it. At first I couldn't tell if it was all a bit. In fact, I'm still not convinced either way. I just feel like I can't believe it, but hey, 2022 has seen much stranger things happen so far. What do you guys think about the whole incident last night?
Whose side are you on?
Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I'll see you maybe another time soon. Who's to say for sure? Bye!